Once upon a time, in a small kingdom, there lived a clever and handsome prince named Roger. He deeply fell in love with a princess of a neighbor kingdom named Eliza, who was famous for her beauty throughout all the land. In the garden outside his palace, there was a wonderful rose tree. It bloomed only once in 5 long years, and then it bore but a single flower. The fragrance of it would make a man forget all of his sorrows and his cares. The prince had a nightingale too. It sang as if all the sweet songs of the world were in its little throat. The prince decided to bring the nightingale and the rose as gifts to propose to Princess Eliza. Roger was standing in front of the gate, asking for permission to enter the palace with his gifts. However, the king wanted to see the presents first. If they were really precious, then he would allow Roger to enter the palace. Roger had no choice but to give the presents to the gatekeepers and waited outside the palace. The gatekeeper brought a glass closure with a rose inside to present the king. The nightingale was standing above the glass cage. When the closure was opened, there was a splendid rose. Its fragrance spread throughout the room. The maid of the princess exclaimed,
"So fragrant, so pretty. It's more than pretty. It's superb."
The king was really satisfied with this gift. However, he still frowned. He thought that the prince of a small kingdom would never deserve his daughter. Then he said, "This flower is really beautiful, but it cannot last long. It will be withered after a few weeks. Let's see the next present." The nightingale flew over. Then it sang so sweetly that for a little while, no one could think of a single thing to say against it.
Superb, charming, unbelievable. How its voice can be perfect like that.
Its voice is so wonderful, but it can fly away any time. Servant, tell the prince of the neighbor king to go back. He can only come here to propose when he has more precious presents. The princess really loved these gifts. She also wanted to meet the prince, but she couldn't disobey her father's command. "We're really sorry, Prince, but the king required you to go back and find more precious gifts for proposing to the princess." "Yes, I got it. Thank you," the prince sadly replied. Then he turned and walked away. "These are my most precious things. What can I do now? Just give up like that?" Suddenly, he came up with an idea. He darkened his face with mud, tore his clothes, and returned to the king's palace. In order to find a chance to approach the princess, Roger intended to apply to work in the palace. "We have enough servants. However, I do need somebody to tend to the pigs because we've got so many of them. Can you do it?" The prince happily accepted the job. He said, "I can do anything. I just need a job." So Roger was appointed Imperial Pig Tender. He was given a wretched little house down by the pigsties, and there he had to live. In front of his house, the soil was so barren that no plants could survive. All living conditions were very difficult, but they could not make him discouraged. Moreover, he was often bullied and mocked by the servants in the palace when he was tending the pigs. "Hey, you pig tender! You didn't even ask anyone when you come here." "What a useless man! How can a young man be a pig tender?" But Roger just ignored what others said. He tried to focus on his work. Although Roger was a prince, he still worked really hard. As time went by, the pigs which he tended were getting fatter and fatter. Moreover, during his free time, Roger planted many flowers and trees, and soon, Roger's living grounds became more beautiful than ever. even more than the king's garden. Every afternoon, when he finished the work of tending the pigs and taking care of the garden, Roger started to play his guitar. His melodious sounds made the scene more peaceful than ever. And these voices finally drew the princess's attention. She asked the maids,
"Guys, where did that sound come from?" "Yes, princess, that sound comes from the guitar of the swineherd." "That's great. I have to go there to see."
The next day, the princess and her maids went to see Roger's house. Everyone was really overwhelmed by the wonderful garden that Roger had taken care of.
"It's wonderful. I have never seen such that romantic and charming garden before. Who took care of it?"
"Your Highness, I had taken care of this garden in my spare time."
"It is really elaborate. And what about the melodious guitar voice I can hear every evening? Is that yours too?"
"Yes, it is mine. I'm sorry for disturbing you, Your Highness."
"No, it is very good. I always want to live in harmony with nature, surrounded by trees and music. Can I come here more often?"
"It is my honor, Your Highness." Since then, the princess went to Roger's house to see the flowers and listen to the guitar every day. The two young people became closer. They talked to each other about many things in life. They gradually fell in love with each other as time went by. Then one day, this information reached the ears of the kings from a flatterer. "Your Majesty, recently the princess has been coming to the pig tender's place every day from early morning to late at night. She has probably been charmed by that swineherd." The king listened to the story. He was really angry and ordered the princess to go there and meet him.
"Father, what's going on?"
"Yes, I heard that recently you have always been at the swineherd's place, right?"
"Yes, there is a beautiful garden there. The pig tender also plays guitar very well, so I often go there."
"You are a princess. This place is not suitable for your status. From now on, you are not allowed to go there anymore. And I will not allow that swineherd to stay here."
"Father, you can't do that."
"No more talking. You can go home now." At that very day, the king kicked Roger out of his palace. He even ordered the soldiers to destroy the garden that Roger had taken care of elaborately. In spite of the king's ban, Princess Eliza still went to the place where Roger used to live, planting trees and flowers to restore the garden. But no matter how hard she tried, the garden was still not as green as before. Gradually, the princess became ill, but she still tried to take care of the garden. Until one day, the princess was so tired and desperate, she burst into tears and fainted. When she woke up, she found herself in Roger's house, and he was sitting there, worriedly looking at her. She was really surprised, quickly asked,
"Roger, is that you? Am I dreaming?"
"It is me. You are not dreaming." Eliza was really touched, hugging Roger tightly.
"How could you be here? Haven't you been kicked out of the palace already?"
Roger told the princess everything. "After being kicked out of the palace, I was really desperate. I didn't want to leave you. Luckily, with my gardening skill, I disguised myself and was accepted as the gardener of the palace. I still watched you every day. When you were sick, it was really hurtful to me. Until today, when I saw you exhausted and fainted, I could not stand it anymore." The princess looked at Roger emotionally for a long moment. Then she said,
"Roger, I don't know what to do. I always want to become a dutiful daughter. I have never disobeyed the father's words, but my life has never been all right."
Let's go, Eliza. Let's go ask the king for me to marry you. I don't believe that he doesn't care about your happiness." The king was really upset to see his daughter had suddenly become sick like that, but he did not know what to do. While thinking, the king suddenly saw Roger and Eliza were coming. "The swineherd, didn't I kick you out of my palace?" "Your Majesty, I'm actually the prince of your neighbor kingdom. I was not allowed to enter your palace to meet you and Eliza, so I decided to disguise myself as a pig tender to have the opportunity to approach the princess. After being kicked out, I once again disguised myself as the palace gardener. Eliza and I really love each other. I hope that you will allow us to get married."
Father, since I was born, I've always obeyed all of your orders, but I've never felt comfortable with my life. Only when I'm with Roger, I can be truly happy and be myself. May your Majesty yoke us together.
When the king saw his daughter smiling again, with no signs of illness, he suddenly realized that because he was so strict, that he accidentally made his daughter lose her true happiness. He was also really touched by Roger's perseverance and sincere love for his daughter. "I'm sorry, dear Eliza. I just wanted you to marry the one who deserved you most, but maybe I was too strict." "And Roger, I can feel your true love with my daughter. I agree to marry her to you." After that, the beautiful princess followed Roger to go back to his palace. The wedding between the two of them took place at Roger's palace with the blessings of everyone. Since then, they lived happily ever after.